Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Hello and welcome to the video wrap-up show for the Shrimp Tank podcast here in Seattle. I'm Dan Whedon, and my co-host today is Craig Swanson. Craig and I had a fascinating and fun conversation today with our guest, Kevin Campbell from Peaks Financial. To catch the entire episode, and we recommend you do, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find all of our episodes on our website at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle.
Kevin, I really enjoyed our conversation about risk. And you kind of went into a little bit of depth around this idea, this concept you have around a risk number. Can you just talk a little bit about what that risk number is?
Sure. And I think the comment you made earlier was actually very accurate. It's kind of like your sleep number, right? You hear all these commercials about find your sleep number. Well, what does that mean? Risk number is kind of the same thing. Financial services, the investment world, has typically just used a 1 to 5 scale. Are you conservative, or are you aggressive, or somewhere in the middle, right? And there's a little spectrum through there, but those are very subjective ideas. It's kind of like saying, hey, do you like to use the sleep number analogy, it's like, hey, do you like a hard or a soft mattress? Well, that's kind of a subjective thing, right? So your risk number, we use an assessment, which, by the way, the easiest way to start it is to find our assessment is to go to our website at peaksfinancial.com, and about two-thirds of the way down the homepage, there's a place where you can actually do your own risk assessment. And what's cool about that, it takes 5 to 7 minutes, something like that, or maybe 10 minutes if you want to read, every little word on the screen 5-7 times. It might take you 10 minutes. But what it will come back with you is it'll gauge your risk number based on a 1 to 99 scale. 1 being super, super conservative, 99 being running naked through the forest while lighting the forest on fire, right? Incredibly risky. So it will help you understand what your risk tolerance is or where you should be. Now, the next steps take a little bit more effort, and that's something that we do for people, is help them understand this. The first thing is to identify your risk number. What's your risk comfort? The second thing is to figure out how your portfolio scores. So if I come in at a 60 on the risk scale, okay, great. That tells me one thing, but I don't know what my portfolio looks like. But if we have the ticker symbols and dollar amounts of the portfolios, so for example, Craig, if you did the assessment and you went through that and you came back and you were a 55 on the risk scale, if you then sent me over the ticker symbols, your most recent investment statement that shows ticker symbols and dollar amounts. I don't need account numbers or anything like that. I just need ticker symbols and dollar amounts. What those were, I can then upload those into the system, and it will actually score your current portfolio. And it'll come back and say, hey, your current portfolio is 30, which, and if that's the case, would be that would be very unusual. Hey, if you come back at a 30, then we know that we can increase your risk exposure and probably increase your probable rate of return as well. But what we see more often is Craig comes in at a 55 and his portfolio is an 87, right? Which means we then need to look at adjusting that risk for current conditions, and also just to get it within your risk tolerance. And that's an easy enough thing to do. It's not super complex, and it's something that's easy for us to do for folks.
So, Kevin, that segues into another conversation we spent a lot of time talking about, and that's risk mitigation, risk management. I know people kind of cringe when they hear that, but really, especially like in markets that we've had as we're recording this, where they can be more volatile, that whole peace of mind and balance, you need some of that risk mitigation. Tell us a little bit, share with us what you shared on the full podcast.
So, risk mitigation, the younger you are, obviously, the more capacity, at least, you should have for risk. You may not have the tolerance, but you have the capacity if you're younger. But as you get older and get closer to retirement, understanding the risk you're taking is significant. And unfortunately, the market conditions since 2009 through the end of 2021 have created a condition where everybody thinks they're a market investing pro, right? It was real easy to make money. And the thing you have to remember is investment is just one piece of all of the plans, the pieces that go together in a financial plan. For example, in our SAIL formula, we talk about investment management, but we don't. It is not the process. That is one component of the process. There's also tax planning, risk mitigation, or risk, looking at risk management, risk mitigation, legacy planning, charitable giving, education funding for children, for grandchildren. There's so many factors that go into a financial plan. That it's investing is just one piece of it. But when it comes to risk mitigation, understanding all of the risks that you face, and the risks that you face change significantly when you go from the accumulation phase of life, where you're accumulating wealth, to the distribution phase, meaning once you've retired. You face a whole different set of risks, and understanding those risks and how to mitigate them. And in this case, risk mitigation, taxes are a significant risk, right? Do you think tax rates are going up or going down? Well, a betting person would say there's real good chance they're going up. I don't think they're going to go down much from where they are now. I think it's highly unlikely we'll ever see lower tax rates in our lifetime than we see right now, but they could go up significantly. Those are things. How do we mitigate that risk? Well, with tax planning. And there are things that we can do within inside portfolios and within the financial world to mitigate that risk. Longevity, and there's so many risks that are out there that people face. Understanding those risks and how to mitigate them is a significant part of a financial plan. That's not just an investment plan. That's that's the difference between an investment and having a financial plan. Is understanding the full picture of all of those aspects.
Fascinating. Kevin, thank you so much for being a guest on the Shrimp Tank. We had a great conversation. Can you remind us, for people like me that want to go take this risk assessments test, maybe talk to you later, how do we reach you? How do we look you up?
Absolutely. The easiest way is peaksfinancial.com is to find us there. Again, you can start the risk assessment right there. There's contact information on there for you to schedule a meeting, give us a call, or just do a risk assessment right there at peaksfinancial.com. It's been a pleasure being here with you guys as well today.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for all of you listening, make sure that you subscribe to us. Subscribe to the podcast at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle. Subscribe in whatever your podcast player of choice is, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever. And please like us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Follow us, and let's stay in touch.
Well, Kevin, thank you very much. And Craig, as always, it's been a pleasure. Everyone, please join us every week at 12 p.m. Pacific on our Facebook page for our live stream broadcast. We do it every Wednesday at noon. Our next show will be on June 8th. Please join us. So until we see you again, please be healthy, be prosperous, and of course, have some fun. Because for right now, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.